Alright, 2020 has been an interesting year, to say the very least. But actually, here on the Peach Guitars YouTube channel, the latter half of the year at least, hasn't been too bad. So in today's video, let's wrap up this year by looking at the top 5 videos from the Tale of Two Tones series. Alright folks, Jack here from Peach Guitars, and welcome to this wrap-up of the Tale of Two Tones series for this year. We started this around July with Eric Clapton, and since that point it seems to have gone from strength to strength, and we seem to have pulled in a lot of new viewers from this series. So if that is you, welcome to the channel. I hope that you've enjoyed what you've been seeing over the past few months. It's been a lot of fun, this series, and we've delved into about 14 different players, I think, so far. Wrapping up with some of my very favourite guitar players, and it seems that just from the comments that we've had alone, a lot of you have felt the same way, that we've covered some of your favourite guitar players, and we haven't been able to cover everyone that's been suggested, but hopefully we've got a nice cross-section of different players. So in this video, in the spirit of wrapping things up on a more positive note for the end of this very interesting year, we wanted to pick out the top 5 videos from this series, as voted for by you. We've gone from the top 5 viewed videos. Some surprising names in there, a nice mix of names as well, and I'm going to delve into a little bit of what went into each video and why we chose the things we chose, the kind of different approaches we took for each video, and how we ended up with the results that we got. Alright, so let's first of all figure out what those top 5 actually were. They were as follows. Yeah! Alright, a bit of a mixed bag as you can tell. So we had Mr. Jimmy Page, Mr. Billy Gibbons, Metallica, Steve Lukather, and Jack White. Now, I would not have picked those 5 to be the top 5 if I had to guess what they were going to be, but it seems that the internet can be a strange and weird place. But I think those are 5 of the best videos that we put out, so let's delve into what made each one so cool. Alright, let's start with Jack White. So this was an interesting one because he is a man of many, many tones, and as this series has progressed, we've kind of changed up the nature a little bit of how we approach each video to suit the player that we're focusing on. So with Jack White, I feel he's had several different eras in his career, but we wanted to focus on probably the most well-known, which was his White Stripes era, and then also some of his latter days raconteurs, crossed with some of his early solo stuff as well. I think we got some great results. We used a lot of interesting pieces of gear, but I think the statement rang true that Jack White's tone is largely in his hands, and he has just such a unique playing style that it doesn't really matter what gear he uses, as is evidenced by the gear he chooses to use. It's such a wide cross-section of different things, but the 2 tones that we managed to get for Jack White, I think, kind of sum up the progression that he had as an artist, from his early days just playing in a guitar and drum duo, right up to playing with some more complex band arrangements. Both rigs stood pretty tall for those tasks. Alright, so moving on to the next one. It was Steve Lukather, and I'm very pleased that he managed to make it into the top 5. He's one of my favourite guitar players in the world, and doing this video was quite a big task for me to try and replicate some of that man's legendary tones. Starting out with his early Toto and early days session rig with the Les Paul and a deluxe reverb, right up to the present day Luke setup, which is his signature Music Man guitar. We use a Soldano in place of some of the other amps that he's known to use, but I think we got the kind of essence of both set up quite nicely. Looking back on that one in particular, I can certainly say I do not play like Steve Lukather himself, but the gear kind of leans you in the right direction, and I think the tones that we managed to coax out of those bits of gear was actually pretty close to what the man has put down on tape. Right, so third on the list was actually a band as opposed to a guitar player. We went for Metallica, and the two tones ended up actually being two different guitar players. So we went for a couple of different eras of Metallica's tones. Their early days around the kind of 84 Ride the Lightning period, and then later on, kind of around 10 years ago, when they were putting out the Death Magnetic album, that kind of period. But the most important distinction here was the two different guitar players in James and Kirk. So it was a bit more of a challenge this time to actually kind of explore and articulate all the different sounds that they've recorded with, because there's two guitar players to focus on. And there's actually a huge wealth of different tones going on. We used two different amp setups, 4 different guitars in total, but it was a lot of fun to try and break down a little bit more of the playing style as well as just the tones, and figure out how they got such a tight tracked sound on their albums, and maybe also touch on how it expanded into their live setups. But for two guitar players in one band, it's a great unified sound that I think we managed to capture with both rigs. Okay, so up at the number 2 spot was Billy F. Gibbons from ZZ Top. This was not one I expected at all, and I also had no clue how to actually piece this together in the first place. He's such a legendary guitar player with a very unique sound, and despite playing hundreds and hundreds of different guitars throughout the course of his career, he's always had that signature Texas tone. A lot of that has to do with some EQ trickery, particularly live, to make a lot of guitars sound like his fabled Gibson Pearly Gates Les Paul. But I think we still managed to get two distinctly different tones from the early days of ZZ Top right through to the 80s and beyond, when he went to a bit more of a mid-range, rich kind of almost processed sound. But both sounds actually ended up being really cool. I think we tried to bottle some of that Texas energy and that kind of swagger to his sound that he has. Needless to say as well, we pulled out two of the coolest guitars that we've ever had in the shop to honour Mr. Billy Gibbons. So taking the top spot in the Tale of Two Tone series by some margin was Mr. Jimmy Page. And this was a very, very interesting video. It ended up being a bit longer than some of the other ones. Jimmy Page is a man who, going through the extensive recording career that he's had, his mind as a producer has led to him having so many different kind of textural guitar tones that differ on every song, on every album. So it's very hard to pin down two tones for Jimmy Page. But we tried anyway. We focused mostly on the kind of bread and butter Les Paul Marshall sound that he had, and also a bit on the Telecaster from the earlier days that also made some reappearances throughout the later years of Zeppelin's recording career. Jimmy Page as a guitar player is such a giant in his industry, so it was very important that we focused not only on the tones but also his unique and very inspirational playing style. I think we got quite close in some of the tones, particularly going for some of the mid-70s live tones. That's kind of what I was focusing on. But that one was a lot of fun to do, and we also did a bit of an extended focus on his playing style in another video as well. But overall, it was a clear winner for the Tale of Two Tone series. Well done to Mr. Jimmy Page. And to wrap this year up in true style, we want to see the Jimmy Page video make it to 100,000 views by the end of 2020. So if you haven't seen it already, or even if you have, go back and give it a revisit after you've finished watching this video. So that's it. We really didn't expect this series to take off when we started out back in July with Eric Clapton, but it seems to have taken on a bit of a life of its own, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the hundreds, if not thousands, of comments that we've had that have been really supportive of what we've been doing, not just on this video series, but as the shop as a whole. It seems the Peach Guitars YouTube has really picked up, and I can't be more grateful to you all for helping us achieve what we've achieved so far. We want to see it go even further into 2021. So all the videos in this series, by the way, will be linked to a playlist in the description below. So if there's any that you haven't seen, you can go and check them out after this video. Hopefully you won't have seen them all and you'll get to enjoy some of the content that we've made for the first time. I think the whole series has been really enjoyable. Like I said before, we've covered a lot of different guitar players with a lot of different tones, and it was a lot of fun. Once again, I just want to say a big thank you on behalf of the entire Peach Guitars YouTube and marketing team for your support with the Tale of Two Tones series and everything else that we've been doing this year. Have yourselves a great holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2021 with some more artist focuses, plenty of other stuff too. Who knows what we'll bring to the table next year. But anyway, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.